What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview every single week. We interview top real estate agents, top entrepreneurs, and strip top badasses out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And that's why they take time out of their super busy schedules to be here with us and share all their amazing knowledge. So today, you guys, got an amazing guest on the show that I'm really excited to have her on. She's got, one of these stories of overcoming adversity, when it comes to it. I know, like, we've all got our story, right? And then you hear some people that just have a story you just can't even fathom, and how they kept pushing through and how they've created so much success through that. And that's our guest today, you guys. So I really want you to pay attention to this, because it's one of these things where, man, we all experience massive pain, and we've got to learn how to keep pushing and use that pain as a teacher and grow from that pain. So our guest today, you guys, is a real estate agent team leader, has closed over 3,800 transactions in her real estate career. Last year, her and her team did over 700 transactions. So mega producer, one of the top real estate agents on the planet, as well as a mother to 3 children.
Yep.
And as I said, you guys, what's that?
Yes, 3 kids.
Yep. So as well as, as you're going to hear, it's overcome a lot in her life to build and keep pushing and create the success that she has. So really stoked and honored to have Christina Griffin on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. Been following you for years.
Yeah, no, it's such an honor. I truly appreciate that. And I'm stoked. Before we hit the record button, we we're having a pretty deep conversation, about your background. And so I'm like, man, we just got to get recording. Like, I don't want to, so much gold here, of this. And we'll talk business too, right? Because, you've built such an amazing, epic business. But, it's one of these things where, so many people, it's like, hey, we know what to do, but why aren't we doing the things we know we should be doing to create the life that we know we truly want and deserve? Like, we know we really want it, but then we choose to, take opposite actions, and it's figuring out how to tap into that. And you're somebody that has, like, you haven't, like, if anybody would be, I guess, allowed to have a victim mindset, like, you definitely, like, everybody would be like, oh no, you're like, you've been through so much, you're like, you could, like, easily get away with it and have a lot of supporters with that, right? But you've chosen to not, like, extreme ownership, level up and keep pushing. And with that being said, because those are listening, unless they've seen you on stage, I know you speak a lot. They don't know kind of your backstory. So let's first start about rewind the clocks and talk about how really, like, what led you to getting into real estate, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, sure. Again, thank you for having me. When I was 9 years old, my mother died of the same cancer I just recently went through. 9 years later, my father died in an airboating accident. When my mom died of cancer, I actually was abused by an uncle. And through that time frame, I knew that I wanted to be like my mom. She was a successful real estate broker. And it wasn't the plan. It wasn't the end goal. I had a full scholarship ride to University of Florida. When I was 18 years old and my dad died, I had an option to take custody of my sister, who was 2 years younger than me, or go to college. And the option was for her to stay with a grandmother. And that wasn't an option for me. So I took custody of my sister, and my ex-husband said, hey, why don't you get into real estate like your mom? And that's how I got into real estate. So when I was 18 years old, I got my real estate license. Was my first job in real estate was leasing. Within 30 days, I was managing a 650 unit complex, and did full lease up and renovation. By the time I was 20, I got my real estate license, and I was making 6 figures within 12 months.
Yeah.
So that's how I got in real estate.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it was, so when you came to that conclusion that, hey, I want to be like my mom and get into real estate, but then some years pass and you get this opportunity with the scholarship before your dad unfortunately passed. Was it one of the, like, what kind of transpired in between time of, I mean, was it the goal to still go to college and then get back into real estate, or did, kind of your vision change?
So I was one of those nerds that had a AA before I graduated high school. So when my dad died when I was 18 and I took custody of my sister, I immediately went into real estate and gave up the scholarships. So got married quickly. By the time I was 21, I had my first child, got married, and she was living with us. So college was not even a thought in my brain. I immediately went through real estate school and started with a small company. And that small company was investor focused, and I became the investor girl. I had bus tours, put investors on buses, taught them how to flip properties, and flipped several hundred properties. And as time transpired and flipping hundreds of properties, and the market when it was going up, and when you breathe, people got a mortgage, those days, I became very good at distressed properties and REOs. So in 2006, I got my first REO account. I was still with the small company. In 2007, my sister got killed in a car accident. Right before she got killed, I had gone through a really bad divorce. I have two small children with my ex-husband, and met the love of my life. He was a personal trainer, and I had lost over 100 pounds with him. He was in the Navy and on leave. So one of those Hallmark stories, you walk in, say, I want the best you got, and in walks him. It was love at first sight. So bad divorce, met my husband, who we're still crazy in love today, in 2007, got married. And then my sister got killed in a car accident 5 months later, in a drunk driving accident. And my dad and my mom are all 9 years apart. They passed away. So, went through a really dark moment in my world, and a lot of financial struggles. It was right when the market tanked. We had 10 properties, and did a lot of short sales and sold them and got out of the properties, and then joined a large company and went full force into REOs.
Yeah.
And selling foreclosures.
Yeah. So, so when you were 18, right when your dad passed, and taking your sister, taking custody on for your sister, and getting into real estate, I mean, I don't know the exact age, but something like what, like your frontal cortex isn't even fully developed to, like, you're in your late 20s. And like, I know, like, we put so much pressure, like, oh, you're 18, right? But 18, we're really not prepared for life, right? And you have, like, everything's changed, and all this is placed on you. But immediately, like, I got to get in real estate, and I got to go out there and grind. And I just can't even fathom pulling that off with, like, even being able to have the focus, right? But then maybe it was a thing of, like, you just, because that was presented to you, you just had no other choice, and you just kept pushing. And with that of, and then sometimes, like, with work or whatever, we'll go through tough, like, I know, for me now, this is not comparing my situation to yours, but it's like when I'm going, whatever, like, even if I have a bad fight with my wife, it's so easy to just get buried in my work,
Yeah.
And play here, so I don't have to confront those emotions over here. And, with all this happening so fast, it was that kind of, because it sounded like you didn't have any time to really grieve and really take this in, and, right. And at one point, did, like, that catch up with you? I can't even fathom being in that situation.
I've been through a lot of dark times. For me, failure was not an option. When my mom and dad, they both passed, my sister, I just wanted to be able to provide a big life for her. So I didn't have time to grieve. It was the right timing and the right opportunity, and managing that apartment complex really was my start into real estate. I met the owner, and she's like, listen, less than 30 days, I'm putting you as a manager. I see your potential. And I was making six figures managing apartment complexes at that time frame at 18 years old. So, but lease up and renovation, it was an amazing experience. And when that died down and it got to normal property management, I knew real estate was my next step. So, and the only reason I got into property management was that was a facet of real estate, and that's what my mom did. So for me, it was just being able to provide for my sister. I had two children quickly at 21 and 23 years old, and was able to get into a time frame with the right person that taught me first-time home buyers and working with investors, and was able to excel and sell quite a few homes during that time frame.
Yeah. So then, when the accident happened with your sister, when I hear this, like I just, I've never I've never had anybody that's been really close to me that's passed away. Like I had my dog, which was a hard time for me. Like I can't even fathom, this, going through that of, it's like, man, at some point, like we can only endure so much pain, right, of that. And we also have your kids, right? So it's like, well, man, I got to still succeed and provide opportunities for them. But with like in that moment, because I think all of us probably can, I don't want to say none of us can relate because we haven't been through that, but it's like, man, like at some point we break, right? Of like, what keeps you pushing through those such intense hard times?
My sister got killed in a car accident, and it was a very long court battle that Mothers Against Drunk Driving got involved in. Truly, I had two kids at that time. My current husband, which we weren't married yet, he was overseas. So during that time frame, he came back from the military, and was there through the entire everything that was transpiring. Honestly, it was probably one of the most darkest times in my life, my sister dying. When my parents died, it was a very different emotion. It was very hard. But at 27 years old with two kids and having to be strong for them, that's what got me through it. I knew that my sister, her faith was right, and I knew she was in a better place. However, it took me a long time to grasp that. I was angry. And we only had one income. And I knew that I had to do what it took to get through it to be able to support my kids. And, for me, it's just failure was not an option for me at all. And, I didn't want to let down my children. That's really what got me through it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is this like 2007? What time frame?
2007.
All right. So then to add to the mix, yeah, right. Then, like we all know what happened then. I mean, it was, and you were like, because I'm in Phoenix, so we're both in like
similar markets.
And most agents today, they don't know anything other than this second longest bull market in recorded history that they experienced. Like they don't, it's like overnight, I mean, Florida, values dropped like 85%. Like it was insane, right? Of with that. But then you mentioned, okay, like you were able to adapt into short sales and REOs, and I don't know. I mean, we're already seeing like 60% of the country starting to correct. And who knows what the future looks like with that. If it'll be as severe or not as severe, hopefully it's not as severe or whatever, but market's correct. It's just inevitable, right? So, to help others kind of get prepared that maybe don't know anything other than a seller's insane appreciated market. Like, how do you transition?
For me, my sister died, and then a few months later, I separated with the company I was with, the small company, and joined a big company. I didn't make a paycheck for 5 months. So going through grieving for my sister and being able to transition into the REO world, it was very hard. but it was I got through the 5 months and I closed 250 transactions my first year in 2008 doing full-time foreclosures. So it was the right moment, but developing the systems and processes and models to be able to get through that. And I had some really great mentors within that company that helped. The REO world was very different, and today it's very different. But they came so fast. The foreclosures were, it was 3 to 4 a day. And I enjoy the processes. It breaks my heart that people lose their homes. That's why I'm so involved in our homeless community here locally, and just want to try and help them with the right resources. But, I feel like people get locked in that mindset of not change, and not really truly knowing what's going on with their business. And I've been really great at being able to watch what's going on with my business so I can adapt and change as the market changes around me. And I rode the foreclosure wave from 2008 to, gosh, I still am. But I would say my big pinnacle change for me was 2013. In June, I was trying to have another child with my husband. We hadn't had one before. My other 2 kids were from my ex-husband, and I'm a very determined and focused woman, and found out I had cancer, the same cancer my mother died of. It was one of those breaking points. Within 60 days, I went to a coaching group that I was invited to, a big seminar that was in Tampa, and it changed my world. I walked out angry, upset at myself. I didn't know what a CRM was. The leads that were generated by my listings, other agents in the office took. I didn't have a coach, a mentor. I didn't know to set the systems and processes to be able to control and take care of my business. And I hit rock bottom, and then I took control. And from August of 2013 to November of 2014, I followed the entire coaching process and took control of my business. Had another child. They said I couldn't. So had a miscarriage 5 weeks into my first pregnancy on fighting the cancer. And they kept saying, have a hysterectomy, get rid of it. And I'm like, no, I'm stubborn, and kept going through the procedures, gained tons and tons of weight because my cancer was progesterone based. So they gave me, it was estrogen based, and they gave me progesterone, which makes you gain weight. So long story short, 5 weeks, had the miscarriage, gave up, was going to get the hysterectomy, and then I was pregnant. So took control of my business, had my miracle child, who's a 4-year-old baby boy right now. And in February of 2015, I started my team and went through the path to fully get rid of my cancer and have a hysterectomy after the baby was born. And, it's been quite interesting ever since. I've been learning a lot. So
Yeah.
went from single agent doing REOs to, starting a team.
Yeah, that's crazy. So then, you mentioned that, okay, when you said that, because it seemed like it all happened around the same time of when you found out that you were diagnosed with cancer. Then you attend that event and found out they didn't have those systems, and it was because we know the whole saying of the teacher appears when the student is ready.
Yes.
So with that message of was it like hey, I know maybe to have success with battling this cancer, I'm not going to be able to spend as much time in my real estate business. So I got to have system process in place where other people can help assist with this, that maybe was seeking on that because you knew that kind of like lead to this journey with that and got you on that path.
Honestly, I was living in a tunnel. I was selling hundreds of REOs a year, couldn't breathe. And one of my asset managers told me to go to this training event because they affiliated with the training company. And I was the good little REO agent that went to the training event, and it changed my world. So I immediately plugged into coaching, and I'm a systems and process person. So I followed the entire to the T coaching plan and model. And I truly believe with the right support, you can do anything. And I didn't allow myself to be subjected to those opportunities because I guess I was blessed. I was selling hundreds of properties a year and just naive and thought that, it was going to continue to happen. So I was very lucky to really open my mind at the right time before the market changed and the REO inventory went down.
Yeah. Yeah. Because my market was very similar in Phoenix where, all the kings and queens of real estate that were the, mega traditional agents when the market crashed, all of a sudden they disappeared, right? And then because they weren't able to adapt and shift and change, like you talked about, the importance of being able to change, now for me, I was a little bit late to the game, right? I mean, I was doing so well with short sales, which accidentally stumbled upon with expireds, led to short sales. And I'm looking at these REO agents. I'm like, man, like they're carrying on this property, whatever, but I'm selling more homes, making more money, don't have to have the headache. But I didn't know the severity of it. And then and I had some opportunities and I turned them down. And then about 6 months later, I'm like, oh, that was a mistake, right? So I had to play some catch up, and it took 6 months of 4 hours a day, just whatever. But we were able to position ourselves and get in with like at the peak 38 different banks, and some of those were onesies and twosies. But then you have the big ones like Fannie Direct, and But when you and I first got into REO, like in the earlier days, and I'm just curious to see if you experienced it. So, how you transition with this, because, like back in the day, like we had to front everything, right?
Yep.
So, it was this balance of, I got to the point where I had almost $250,000 out in receivables because we're paying for carpet paint. Like, I'm trying to grow this company, but I can't take a paycheck. Like I literally had this fear that, one of the top REO agents in the area was going to get foreclosed on his own home because all my money was going into the growth for the banks and funding the banks. I'm taking out credit card advances, right, just to pay my bills. And I was an agent closing 500 deals a year that was broke, right? And that turned around and you started getting the money back and it started getting good. But because then lines of credit were shut off. Like there was really no options. Luckily I had a couple $100,000 in the bank, but like that was a tough time. And then they changed that strategies, with that. But, initially, like, it was a lot to manage, like what was that like for you and how did you transition?
Well, I'm blessed. Being in the investor world, one of the top REO agents in the Tampa Bay market, she was the first person I thought of when I separated from the small company. And she already had the infrastructure in place where she had multiple REO agents that were in her office. And we paid into, I guess you can say, a kitty, like every single transaction we paid into it to float the REOs. So she handled that for probably the first year, handling the billing, fronting everything, including the accounts, the bonds and things like that for utilities. And then when she decided I am going to retire, another gentleman took it over who's an amazing guy. So for 10 years with the company that I was previously with, he handled all of the management of all of the invoices. So I'd have a lot of sleepless nights if it wasn't for the fact that we started that in the beginning.
Yeah. It's because when you said that, it was years into REO, so 100 properties. And then it was the event that, opened your eyes to the processes. Like one of the biggest blessings I would say that REO was for me was I had no assisted processes before. Yep. Now I had to self-manage all that stuff and build my own team to do all that stuff, but it forced me very quickly to get really good at assisted processes. And that was a big game changer for me because we had no choice but to, it was a systems process based assembly line business, right?
Or you lose a lot of money.
Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cause it's like, you got to front the money for the utilities. Right. Yep. And then sometimes after closing, like, by the time we'd have to run down the city to get the bill just so we just submit it to them in time to get, then we front the money, but then try to get out of reimbursing the end, but it was good times. It was a lot of learning
Yeah,
experience, right? So, all
exactly.
right. So then so you go to this event, but you're like, all right, man, I'm going to be the student. They say jump. I'm going to say how high. I'm going to take action, get these system process dialed in. And you mentioned that was like the kind of a pivotal, point in your career. And I love that you said that because I'm a systems process, like we're like, like I'm a
Yes.
prosecutor myself. And I always tell people like, dude, system processes will crush talent all day long. Like it's
I agree.
he or she was the best system process that wins this game, period, in business,
I
right?
agree.
So,
I agree.
kind of talk about, because this is where a lot of agents struggle, right? This is their weak point. They don't like it. But talk about the power that it had as you started putting these in place and what that growth looked like after.
Absolutely. So in February of 2015, I started the team. And at that point, I'd say it was an official team. I had multiple people that were around me that were helping service the leads because the REOs generate 10 times as many leads as a Zillow lead or, any of the other paid lead sources. So we started to, for us, the start of, I guess you can say, the systems and processes was the coaching and my out desk. I was blessed to find my first VA who's still with me today, works 50 hours a week and pretty much rules quite a bit of our world. Right now, after 5 years, I didn't know how to use the CRM. They taught her how to use the CRM. So we started with Top Producer and, had the 5+ people that worked with us, and it grew to 12. And then I told my company, I said, listen, I'm starting a team, whether you like it or not. Had quite a bit of pushback, but we moved forward with starting the team by August of that year. And for me, it was following the coaching plan and, growing the staff and having the right systems in place that when the leads came in, auditing and being able to help hold the agents accountable. And I've learned everything the hard way. And our first year, we sold 506 transactions. Half of them were my foreclosure inventory. The other half was the team. And every year since, we've not doubled in transactions, but in volume and agent count. And most of those agents that were with me in the beginning are also still with me today.
So when you break that down, I mean, the REO business was a book of business you already had. I mean, at the
Yes.
end of the day, it's still closings, right? I mean, and then so essentially you had another couple hundred of traditional team closings or from, I don't think I've ever met or heard of anybody the first year that they started their team doing a couple hundred deals, right? I mean, that's like, how does that happen?
Well, there was a source called Cole Realty Resource that the company I was with gave it to us for free. And I did a lot of experimenting with that on or circle prospecting around our listings. So all of the REO listings, we would let everybody know that the property, we have a hot foreclosure that just came on the market, come to our open house or give us a call. And we'd get hundreds of phone calls. So they all went into the CRM. I purchased an answering service, so I don't have a voicemail. So every single solitary phone call that calls me, calls our signs, our ISAs, anybody, it rolls over to the answering service 24 hours a day. So we call captured everything, and the amount of leads that REOs generated with the Cole Realty on circle prospecting, we just, I was spending less than $1,000 a month on Zillow. In addition to our listings, and we received about 2,000 leads a month. So it was more than what we can handle. And we just kept attracting agents to come help us and work. And I hired a lot of the wrong agents, but I hired tons of the right agents. And, it just kept growing. But we had so many leads. It was such a different space 5 years ago.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's so smart, right? Like when I reflect, hindsight's 2020, and as you mentioned, like it was coming so fast, right? You get 80, 90 properties a month. I mean, I remember one time we got like, I don't know, 17, I think it was 17 foreclosures assigned on Christmas Eve. And I told my whole entire staff, my guys, like, we're not leaving here until this is done. Cause like with the task, like they don't, we're going to,
no, they don't.
It's Christmas. Right? I'm like, here's the thing. We'll all be out of here before 3, so you can spend Christmas with your family. I'm going to give you all $1,000 cash bonus. Like, well, but we all have to be here. Like, let's get it done, right? And I mean, we pulled it off, but so it's one of these things. Like, I compare it to like the in the movies where the kid steals a car and like they can barely reach the pedal and barely reach over the dash, but they're just holding on. Right? But I'm like,
that's exactly what I was doing. Is
yeah.
it just, they kept coming so fast, and it was very different. I made so many mistakes, but we kept closing deals because there were so many
Yep.
leads and so many people calling.
Well, one
So
mistake I made is it was just all listed. Like I just focused on the RO. I'm like, who cares? Sign like, like you were smart with it. You made a lot of mistakes, but like you leveraged that REO, right, for the core real. Like, when the next wave comes, it's like, man, like I'm gonna have an army of buyer's agents leveraging. Instead of closing 500 deals a year, we should have been closing 5,000, right? So,
I agree. Me too. So.
So then from there, which you guys, you did great with that. But and I don't know if this happened to you, but like, and I've heard this from a lot of REO agents where, you get known as being the REO agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably a lot for me of a mistake of, my branding, had all some of it, short sales and whatever. When the market started to transition, I wouldn't get business, or other agents would use that against me of, oh, he just does this. And I had to go through a painful rebrand almost, for that. Did you experience that with being so involved in REO?
Sounds like we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
just saying. So for me, yes, I did. I had to go to an official branding company. One of our top agents on our team, amazing friend, who's still with me as well, has a marketing degree. So I think it was probably 100 conversations on our logo and our branding that she helped me get through. And we just have nice classic branding, and sellers and buyers, when they see that I've sold 4,000 homes on Zillow, they don't know that over half of those are REOs. So, for us, it was just having the agents be able to have the right conversations and the right scripting around, that we have the capacity and what we can sell and service. But it, the REOs were such a big thing up until, I'd say, for me, about a year and a half ago. At one point in time, I had several hundred that I was carrying. I have about 35 right now.
Yeah.
Which is a lot for our area, but it's not enough for me. We have about 80 active listings currently. But the market's changing. So it's, we went from 2015, to starting the team. And then I immersed myself into the world of coaching and agents that thought higher and thought they produce to a different level than I did, or the same level, but without the REO involved. So for me, it was a big learning year. I ended up having a hysterectomy to fully get rid of the cancer. And, it was a big learning year to be able to learn and immerse and grow. And I kept adding, tools and systems and, our internet in place and training the agents. And, it got to a point where I knew I needed more. So, that's where I started to look at that next step, the next chapter. We last year transferred companies with a little over 30 agents. And, to be able to learn, to be in a culture and an environment to learn how to run it like a business. And that to me has been the biggest game changer for me. I made a lot of mistakes during the whole time frame. I was that one that went to the conventions that bought every single tool. 15, 20 tools, got back, and the team's like, oh, we have another tool. So, for me, it was just a lot of focus through that time frame. The people around me, the REOs kept coming fast. The leads were plentiful. I went from spending 1,000 on Zillow to spending 5,000. But the leads kept going on down and down. So I knew that we had to diversify. And we did things like, the agents would door knock, and we do more open houses and more community events. And, I just followed the coaching and the systems and the models through the coaching and the people. And that was a big game changer for me.
Yeah, no, I love it. So it's, when you say, because some agents that are watching this right now, listen to this, they may hear, oh, you got 35 REOs. That seems like a lot, but REOs are like property management. I mean, there's a certain threshold that it makes sense. I got to the point where I decided to give up my account when we were carrying, it was like, to me, when I broke it down, I was like, dude, if I had under 50, it just didn't make sense, right? Because of all the intensity that's involved, like it takes volume, right? Of that. But then also with that is that you said the leads that you get per one REO, because everybody wants the discount, everybody, compared to a regular listing is so much more. So when you talk about, okay, we saw these diminishing and we start making the shifts, but you got to be somebody that really pays attention to what's going on, because it's something you didn't. I mean, most people make this shift like, they wait too long, right? So then they'll have these dips, but you continue to grow, right, with it. So, can you walk us through, like, what do you pay attention to of, to be able to, because you're kind of like, you remind me of like the Wayne Gretzky quote of, I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where it's going. Yeah, right. To continue to grow through transitions, you have to have that ability, and you do.
Well, you've got to have the ability to get through the pain, to fall flat on your face, and just keep picking yourself up. And to me, have people that can that are doing it, that can help talk you through it. And that's what I went through a lot in the last 24 months. And for me, I had to keep going and kept growing, because the people that were in my world kept getting bigger. And I had to be able to support them, and be able to offer the infrastructure and the support and the leads and changing. And I do some weird stuff sometimes, but it works. One of our top lead sources is Facebook Marketplace. That's free.
Yeah.
We still use Craigslist. And, I do things that most agents would not think of, and it's just so simple. So I got back to basics. For me, I've lost a lot of money. There's been so many months that we haven't been profitable. And I knew that I had to learn how to run it like a business. And that was my next step. But it was really the people that I was surrounded with, that were in my world, and that were on our team, and the culture that we created. And that's what drove me. My 3 kids, and just being able to be there and be that support for them is what got me up and just kept me going. And when leads, you're used to getting 1,000 for spending a few thousand a month on Zillow, and they get cut in half, and then the next month they go further down. You have to diversify. And if you don't, I have a lot of single agent, brand new agents that reach out to me, or agents that have been in the business for years that don't know what their schedule is. They can't be accountable for their own actions. And that's how I do what I do is, you have to schedule down to the minute. You have to know how many people you called, what you do on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like that's how I'm able to really see that next step and see what's ahead of me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's awesome. And one thing that's so cool, and I know you keep, emphasizing your coaches and your mentors that provided that direction. And it's like, look, I mean, we don't have to have all the answers, right? I mean, there's, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and seeking those coaches and seeking those mentors. I mean, it's so invaluable. And it's so amazing. So then, all right, success leaves clues. It's like, I just look at, like, anytime I'm like, all right, here's the problem that I have that I need to solve. Like, who's the best person on the planet that I can go shadow, mentor, jump on an airplane? Like, I never try to like create the wheel. It's like, who's the best person that's doing this, right? And then it's R&D, right? Rip off and deploy. Like, I'm just always like, I'm just a good pirate, like Goss is cool, good artist, copy, great or steal, right? So talk to us about, though, when you say treating as a business, I know you talked about some of the tracking stuff and you're being very intentional with your planning, right? But a lot of real estate agents, and I don't know if it's the barrier to entry, because let's say like you and I are going to go partner and open up a Jimmy John's franchise. Like, no, we got to do TIs. We got some big skin in the game, right? Where it's just like real estate agents don't seem to typically treat this as a business. And, but it still took you. I mean, you were creating a lot of success, and took you just like me. I mean, I didn't probably really start being intentional as a business owner for by the first decade, right?
Yeah.
Of this. So kind of talk to us about like, what does it mean to truly treat this as a business, and what impacts does that have?
Honestly, I started treating it like a business April of last year. I went to an expansion systems orientation class, and I realized I was doing everything the hard way, and there was already a system that I could plug in, and that's what I did. So I really studied the systems and models. Never read MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, before. And that was just a year and a half ago for me. So that's where I started changing my thinking and my mindset, and people, following them and how they do things, and seeing that if they could do it, I could. And I really never had thought that far ahead, because we had so much business coming, and the money was there. But the REO started to go down, and I knew I needed a change. And that's really where my thinking started, on knowing how many leads come in, knowing what's happening with the leads, tracking the leads, auditing the leads, making sure that the agent's following up with them, having the right training and motivation. We've got a team Facebook group that I started years ago. Now we have WhatsApp, different things in place. But a lot of running it like a business really truly started for me, I'd say January this year, with the change of companies, because I got the right people in place. And when you have the who, and the people to help you run your business, it feels more like a business. I have an operations manager, I have a sales manager, a productivity coach that helps train the agents, the right support within the company. And that was really the big thing for me, and the big change. So, and I had, I guess the next part of my story happened in December of last year, when I had known that I needed the change. And I'm sure you know who David Goggins is. He's amazing guy. Just came out with a book. He went through Navy SEAL training 3 times. His biggest thing is, we do not operate at 40% of our potential. And I was telling a friend that walked out of a restaurant in Tampa. He's not from here, and he was power walking to me in a parking lot in Tampa. Biggest, craziest coincidence. I saw him speak at a conference the year before, and I had just said I needed to get gastric sleeve surgery. The doctor said if I didn't want to get checked up every 6 months for cancer, that I needed to be able to have that surgery and then make a change. And literally walked out 3:00 in the afternoon, and he's walking through the parking lot, and had a breakdown. And you got to break down sometimes to get up. Had a breakdown, and that's where I made the change. I called, scheduled my surgery. I'm down 110 pounds since December of last year. And I wake up every day just trying, well, there's no, try is not a word. That I wake up every day just doing my best to, just learn and be better at my business.
Yeah, no, I love it. So then, you talked about the brokerage switch, right? Which sounds like, that's been a huge paradigm shift for you. And, it's crazy. Like we're just like all us, we're always recruiting, right? So, and I'll see agents that have been in the business for a year or 2 years. I'm like, man, you hop more brokerages than I have in my 13 and a half year long career, right? Like, and I think so many agents don't understand the importance. And like, I mean, with like all of your people, right? Like before you have staff, you have, obviously your broker that you always have, and whatever,
Yep.
but title, like these relationships, can really make or break you, and aligning with that. And a question I always get is, because here's the common thing. They go in a Facebook group and like, hey, I'm thinking about switching brokerages. Right? Like, what do you recommend?
I don't
Everybody
even
pops it out
respond to
there.
those posts. Yeah.
Right? And it's like, look, man, I don't know if there's like, I don't believe that there's one, one size fits all. It's like, you got to really spend that time, because it really is, it's a business partnership, right? Of who or what is the best environment and set for you to accomplish your goals. And, and dude, agents take it so lightly, right? But it's so critical. It's so important. Talk us maybe through of like, how did you get clarity? Because it sounds like it's been the right move, and there's been so much growth, and it's going to get you to where you want to go.
Yes.
Just having the right support and the right, environment. And, I believe in success through osmosis. You're able to sit in a private room with a billionaire that's created what nobody else has ever created in this space. Right. Yeah. So, kind of talk to us about like, how did you make the decision and get the clarity, and the importance of agents to like slow down and really be methodical about this decision?
For me is, I knew that just having my own brokerage or being in one location was not what I wanted, that I went through every pain, death, life event for a reason, and it was to affect others. So this was the platform that allowed me to be able to expand anywhere in the country with a system, and to be in a room of people that truly share absolutely everything, and they support you. And, I was able to jump 100 steps ahead. I didn't have to pay an attorney to create a team agreement. 20 people shared it with me. So being in an environment where people share and I can learn from, that was really what did it for me. So, it's been great so far, and I know I'm in the right place. So we're in 8 different office locations now. And when I moved 10 months ago, we were in 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's crazy. So then you talked about like getting the clarity on, what you want to go out there and accomplish, right? Like the impact that you want to make. And, I love the concept of, find your why, find your purpose, but it just seems like 50% of the population, like, that works great for. The other 50%, it almost like messes them up worse, because
yes,
they get anxiety of like, oh, I can't find my why and purpose, and they break down because of that. And like, what kind of self-discovery do you go through to gain that and get that clarity? Because more people spend more time today designing the grocery list than their life plan. Right. And not being intentional. And, but then, okay, hey, I get this clarity on what I want to do, right. And the impact I want to make. And then what's the best environment for me to make that reality?
For me, it was creating a legacy, and this allowed me to do that, and be in an environment I can create a legacy. My biggest fear is dying. With quite supporting reason to be able to have that as a big fear. So I needed to be in an environment that allowed me to create a legacy for my family. So that, I'd say that's my why. My why is giving back, being able to be, in an environment that I can grow as big as I want. And the people that are in my world will never outgrow my world. So that really was it for me, is creating that legacy piece, and supporting my family is why I did what I did. It hasn't been easy, but I've had a lot of really great support behind it, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, and things like turning in my P&L, and being able to use commitment to excellence, things that I never used 10 months ago. It's been like a crash course in business the last 10 months. So.
Yeah. Awesome. So, it sounds, because people will be like, well, I got to come up with a why. And,
yes,
it's like, a lot of times you have multiple whys, and, and I don't know. This is just my belief system, and I'm, nobody, like, everybody has their own belief system and can make up their own mind for themselves. But I think it can be scary when I hear people like, oh, my like my why is my kids, right. Yeah. In that, right. Like, okay, your why is your kids for a lot of years, then they turn 18, they have their own lives. And now I see so many people get lost at that moment. And it's like, hey man, I got a why and a purpose for my kids. but then you got a why and a purpose for impact. Like you got your own personal vision for you of the impact outside of that too. And I've found, at least for me personally, of so much value and importance in that, right? Because clearly you get on that. It's like, none of this feels like work, right? Like you're going out there and doing the work that you were put here on this planet to do. And, how did you come up with that clarity of, because it's not just with your team either. Like you're on stages speaking all over the place, coming on podcasts like this, like you are intentional about this mission of not just with your own teammates and with your kids. It's just massive impact.
For me, I want people to know that failure is not an option. With the right support, they can get through absolutely anything. And a lot of people become victims instead of just getting through being victims. I just want to show and share that the things that I've been through and what I've been able to achieve, I feel like it gives people hope. It also, I'm one of those, I guess you can say, people souls that really loves to have that purpose, and that drives me on getting up each and every day. And that's how I was able to find it. I hit rock bottom and knew that I had to be able to be excited about what I did and what I got up to do each and every day, in addition to supporting my family. A lot of people, I feel like they get so strung up, they struggle on what's their why, where they're going. The first thing is they need to realize what they have to make each and every day and why they're making it, and then you have your someday goals. But, if we just slow down and we realize that we're running businesses and, the other option is plugging into a 9-to-5 job, we have to hold ourselves accountable to those actions and know why we're doing what we do every day. And that was it for me. Is I'm a very purpose-driven person. I feel like if you find a purpose, no matter what you're going through, whether it's a local charity or things in your community, it just helps you get through it.
Yeah, I love it. So then one thing you just said was, look, if you have the right support, right? Like I'm not a fan of the saying of self-made. It's like, okay, like I get, hey, you didn't come from, like you weren't inherited, you didn't get, but there's not a human being out there that's self-made. Like we have mentors, we have coaches, we have friends, we have family that help us through those times. And, is the great Jim Rohn's, famous for saying, you're an average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. Our associations matter, making sure you're with those right people and, right. And having that right support. Can you elaborate on the importance of that?
Support you can have in any realm, of your level of business and your level of success. I have it from a coach, my sales manager, my church, my family, my husband, and then, people and mentors. And at any level in your business, that's a beautiful thing about our business is everyone, when you find the right group, people want to share. So, to me, an agent that maybe is brand new, they can find that mentor because people thrive on that. And being with the right company, your brokerage should be able to help connect you with people to help support you, whether it's role-playing partners. It really just depends on you and your level of success. And for me, I was able to connect with people that are doing it on a higher level than me. And so that gives me the support. But my husband and my sales manager, Michael, he's just, the two of them, that's my kick in the butt every single day. And my faith.
Yeah, no, I love it. So then, I'm going to ask this question just because I get asked it all the time, but I don't know how to answer it, right? Because I'm, like, I know I just said, I don't like this self-made, but I also don't like the saying of, oh, I've been in your shoes. Like, dude, nobody's been in each other's shoes. And like you can't, like, we all handle every experience based on our previous experiences. And, it's just different for everybody. And, on my team, real estate agents predominantly, women and moms, and same with my coaching clients. I'll get asked of like well, man, I've got this drive to go create this big business, right? But then they might feel this guilt of not being there for their kids. And, I got to tell them, I'm like, look, I got in this business 23 years old. I didn't have kids. But the time we started having kids, my wife was able to stay at home. And I'm like, look, I just show up every day and magically I go into my closet, my clothes are there folded. Like I don't, like, it's just like, I have it so easy with certain, like, I can't relate. I've never really felt the guilt. Like I work hard and I get to come home, hang out with the family for an hour or two. And, but this is a question I get probably 2 or 3 times a week from moms that are in the space, that again, have this desire and drive to build this business, but then, want that too. And, I don't know if have you personally experienced that? And like, what recommendations and tips would you give?
It's actually a question I'm asked quite a bit, because I am that one that you see with your kids and you see, on date night, and I'm very immersed with my family. For me, it was getting up early. Stop making excuses. A lot of moms will say, I don't have enough time to meal prep for my family or clean my house or spend time with my kids. Well, get up at 5. If 5's not early enough, get up at 4:30. On Sundays, be intentional about your time. You can meal prep where you literally can leave in the morning and drop something in a crock pot and your family have a full cooked meal. If you can't afford it, you've got to be able to fully structure your time. I don't buy clothes anymore. I have a clothing service that I get 10 new outfits every single week. When I'm done wearing them, it goes in a bag. And when they scan it, I get another one. So there are things that we can do as moms, whether sometimes when I have a super busy week, I have a chef that drops off food for my husband. He's one of those big guys that, I call him the meatheads. He works out 2 hours a day and things like that. So he eats a lot. So when I'm traveling, I always make sure they have food. So, if you want to build a big business, you have to be able to really be accountable of your time, your actions, and what your family needs. And if you cannot financially afford it, that's the only option. You just keep getting up, or you get up earlier, 4 o'clock. There's been times I've done that, or gone to bed at 2 or 3 to get done what's needed within my business. Then you get to a point where you can add leverage. Leverage is important on all aspects of your business, even your home life. If you spend 4 to 6 hours a week cleaning your home, the amount of time that takes you that you could be lead generating or spending time with your family, you need to work your butt off to be able to get to a point where you could have a maid. You have a chef drop off food. You don't do what I do. I order my clothes every week. There's a lot of companies for men, women, kids, everything. So, if you have a why that's big enough, and if that why is your family, you just don't fail and you stop making excuses. And I feel like if women, moms, dads, if they just stop making excuses and they find solutions, that they'll be able to get through anything. And that's what I do.
Yeah. And that's what I love about this business. If we do what you just said, like be very intentional with our time, down to the minute. It's like, look, man, I'm at home, eat breakfast with the kids every day, take them to school every day. Like I'm at home in the afternoon with them. Yeah, right. I'm able to be present. Now that may mean they go to bed at 8:30, spend an hour with my wife. Then that means maybe I then jump on and work it on 3 or 4 hours till midnight. And, I can get the work done at different times and structure your life. And, and it's funny with like clients, like I found that if I tell them, or when I was in production, I don't sell anymore, but, when it was like, oh, well, I'm with my kids, like some clients that's not acceptable. But if I just said, oh, I've got another client meeting at that time, how about this? It was always cool. And to me, it was, some people may see that as lying, but I'm like, no, I'm with the most important client, right? Like, there's ways around it. And with technology, what's it, Instacart, right? Like
Yes.
go on there, like you do your grocery shopping.
Twice a week.
Yeah.
Twice a week.
So with all the apps like Instacart and like, what are some that you plugged into, whether maybe personal or business, either way, of how you're utilizing, because technology exists to make our life easier. I mean, if we break it down, right? So like, what are some of the things that you're plugging into that just like you're just in love with right
now? Instacart, Amazon, Gwenny B and Rent the Runway for clothing. I'm a big Starbucks girl. So it's, Starbucks I'm a big fan of. There's some food apps, obviously like Uber Eats. When I'm running late home and I want my family to have a hot cooked meal, if Instacart's too busy, I do Uber Eats if there's nothing prepared. But get creative. Like Instacart, you can send a rotisserie chicken that's fully cooked to your family if you're running late, or Uber Eats. You know, I experiment a lot, but those are the main ones that I use. There's a lot of ones in my work world that allow me to be organized, like our CRM and things like that. But I'd say Instacart's my baby.
Yeah,
So
love it. So then when it comes to business, right? Like, I mean, you mentioned your CRM, but is there like any other, something that you're using now, like a Trello or what would be your favorite, tool that you've recently discovered that you use in your business that's been a game changer?
Send out cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the unlimited send out cards. So I think we've done maybe 500 this month that we've sent out. Our CRM, Cold Realty, all of the prospecting type tools. Facebook we use in a big way. WhatsApp is amazing. So we have different, like our listing team, our main team, and different groups within it that all communicate on WhatsApp. My absolute favorite is Voxer.
Yeah.
So I've got 20 plus of my agents I talk to almost every day. They can never say, "Oh, you're too busy, I can't get a hold of you." That doesn't happen. So Voxer, we can have full blown conversations. I don't go to bed until every single one of them's answered. I wake up because I have a late night crew, from early 20s to mid 60s on our team, and I'll wake up and I'll have 10 messages. And some of them just love to share what they did that day. They talk about their struggles, but you can have a 5-minute Voxer conversation, which eliminates picking up phone calls, and people still have that personal touch. And Voxer is definitely my favorite tool with business right now.
Yeah. And when you're tracking time per minute, I mean, because Voxer, I mean, you eliminate all the small talk. It's just like,
Yes.
I've never tracked, I use Voxer as well, but I've never tracked the time savings for the phone calls, but it's insane. Yeah.
It
Right.
is.
Like a 10-minute phone conversation is now 60 seconds.
Yes.
Right?
And you can plug through 10 or 15 of them at the same time. And it happens really, it's all of my staff, everything is on it. So I love it. It's been a game changer for me on my team, having where they feel that personal touch, that we're not growing too big, that I'm still involved, things like that. And I have a problem with not being involved. A lot of rainmakers, their first thought is, I'm going to not be involved as much as I can. That I'm going to have staff and people in place. I believe in that, but I also believe that people are, at least right now, they're on our team because they believe in me and my vision. And Voxer allows me to stay in touch. I do a lot of Facebook Lives in our Facebook group. So we have over 100 agents and partners in our Facebook group, and that's really great for us as well.
So you mentioned that, a lot of teammates are with you because they believe in you and your vision. What is your vision? Like, how big do you want to take this thing?
So I don't know if I'm supposed to mention names, but I didn't even know who he was until April of last year, Ben Kinney.
Yeah.
So he's such an amazing man. I actually went to an event he had the end of last year. That was really my decision factor on where I moved. It's, to me, I want to grow a world so big that it's not going to outgrow the people that I have that are in my team. So eventually I'd love to have ownership on some market centers. I would love to travel the country and be able to, when my kids get older, obviously travel more, but be able to share my story in a big way and impact others as much as possible. Currently, in my current plan is 14 to 16 producing agents in every market center within my MLS system. Because when you expand within your MLS system, the cost is a lot less. So, and it's the right people. We have an entire interview process in place. It's really the right people that are going to allow you to grow, to create market share. And I want to be grassroots. I want to be the team that sponsors the little league, not the major league sports team. And, just really try to give back and impact as much as possible. I have a lot of someday goals, but that's my current goal. And, to create obviously profitability for everybody and get through the shift that's getting ready to start. And well, it's already started. And, just be able to change and realign our behaviors together to get to where we need.
Yep, I love it. So then those that are watching and listening, if they want to, start following you, if they want to, reach out, maybe they're in your area, want to talk about joining your team or see when your next speaking event is, like, where's the best place, Christina, to get in touch with you, to follow you,
I have an open Facebook profile. So Christina Griffin on Facebook. My team is the Griffin Group. Send me a Facebook message. I personally answer all of my Facebook messages. And they can definitely also call me. I have an answering service and a staff that handles my calls, but they'll definitely get me your call. And it's 813-466-4732, or they can email me at christinagriffin@kw.com.
Now, is it the same answering service that you used back in the day? And if so, or regardless, because I'm sure the one that you're with, if it is changed, is you're with them for a reason. It's a brilliant idea. What's the name of the answering service?
So we actually just in the last year have changed. I realigned. So part of the shift, it tells you in leverage to be able to maximize your staff and the people that work with you and their job. So one of our VA that's been with us for over 5 years, Gracie, my calls, I don't have a voicemail. So all of our calls, they ring to her. She answers them and sends them out to our operations, our staff, and just like the answering service did. So I was able to cut $1,500 a month in cost by just realigning that small task for her to do. Now, when she's on the phone, it rolls over to a company called Answer Connect. Okay. They're a big national company, and they do a really great job. So, it's if you have a VA in place, that VA should be able to answer those calls if they're doing an administrative task. And then we have it just roll over to the answering service after her. And that's been a big game changer for us. But it allowed me to cut quite a bit of cost by utilizing and realigning her task to have her. We added 10 more hours and we have her answer the calls. But you always make sure that they don't roll over to voicemail, because you lose a lot of calls. Even there's smaller companies like Pat Live is a great small answering service company if you don't get a lot of calls. But one voicemail that a sign call that goes to a voicemail, you're just going to lose opportunity, and they're going to call another sign. So, it's when somebody calls and they answer and it says, "Thank you for calling the Griffin Group." They will wait longer for somebody to call them back than it would be leaving a voicemail. So I would challenge anybody to check at all their missed calls and see who truly leaves voicemails. And, it's been helpful for us.
Yep. No, I love it. I mean, when you meet agents obviously we get to a point where you're too busy, you can't answer your phone. But I used to say it, like when I first got in the business of, like, hey man, I just answer my phone. I always answer my phone. Well, you get to the point where you can't always answer your phone, but there is, how many times we hear that from agents that are, at a certain production that are doing well, but there's so much to it, right? And,
yeah, ours goes out when the answering service answers, it goes out to an operations email. So all of our staff gets the email at the same time. So whoever answers, they call back first. And if I claim and I am able to call back, I respond to them and say, hey guys, I handled this. So for me, it's all about service and staying on top of it as much as possible.
Yep. Love it. Love it. All right. So those that are watching and listening, I know I end every podcast with this, but information without implementation truly is a started delusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information, taking massive action on it that allows us to go out there and create or give us the power to go out there and create the life that we truly know we want and deserve. And Christina shared so many amazing pieces of advice with you guys. Make sure that you take action on something that you learn. Don't wait. Take immediate action on what you learn. And we'll have all of Christina's information below, all of her links, website, all of that below. So make sure to check that as well. And Christina, this has been such a great time and such a massive honor. I truly appreciate it.
Likewise.
Here.
Thank you. Same here.
Yeah, 100%. All right, you guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.